Happy Friday, everyone. TGIF. It is March 18th. I am so stoked that it is Friday, and it is going to be an absolutely gorgeous weekend. We've got so much happening across the Brazos Valley this weekend. I can't wait to tell you all about it. We're going to get to that a little bit later in today's show. But hi, it's Friday. It's, oh my gosh, March 18th. I cannot believe we are 18 days into the month of March. It has just completely flown by. I don't know if y'all feel the same way. It's crazy. It's going by like that. It's Friday, so we're going to start our show today with a mental health check-in. So everyone join me in taking a deep breath. Dance it out a little bit. It's Friday, Friday. All right, y'all. Mental health check-in. How are you feeling? Be open and be honest. Check in with yourself and check in with your loved ones. Again, if you need help, go get the help that you need, whether that's just picking up the phone and calling your mom, your sister, or getting professional help, all right? Getting help is the bravest thing that you can do, because trust me when I tell you, the world is a better place because you are here, all right? Every single day that you are here on this earth, that makes that day better for someone else who's also here with you. And we're all just here to walk each other home at the end of that day. So, mental health check-in, be open and be honest with your feelings, whether it's just talking to yourself, hey, how was my week, right? How am I feeling today on this Friday? Am I looking forward to something this weekend, or am I kind of dreading it? And if the answer is that you're kind of dreading it, maybe reach out, all right? And again, that can just be picking up the phone, texting, or calling someone that you trust, and just telling them, hey, I'm struggling a little bit. And I think that's the first step, is just being able to acknowledge that, yeah, you're struggling a little bit. Make sure that you go outside this weekend, all right? The sunshine does wonders, okay? So get some fresh air, go watch the Aggies play, whether you're watching basketball, softball, tennis, swimming, track and field, tons of Aggie sports events happening this weekend. Again, tons of other events happening across the Brazos Valley this weekend as well. Talk about that a little bit later in the show today. But most importantly, check on your mental health on this beautiful Friday morning. How are you feeling? Check in with your loved ones. Text someone, call someone. Tell them that you love them and that you are happy that they're here, all right? And then tell them that you got that from me. All right, happy Friday, y'all. Well, hey, how many of you, hands up, woke up this morning, went outside, and you were like, is there a fire? I smell smoke. Yeah, that happened to me. I was like, wait, what is happening? It smells like smoke. It's a little hard to breathe. Let me tell you why that is. All right, so take a look at this. A fire has scorched more than 38,000 acres in West Texas as of last night. That's according to the Texas A&M Forest Service. Officials say there is currently about 5% containment on the blaze as crews focus on making sure people and then buildings are spared. Residents in Brown, Comanche, and Eastland counties have all been ordered to evacuate. Some shelters are open for people in need. The Texas Department of Public Safety is requesting the closure of part of State Highway 153 because of heavy smoke. Now, a little bit more information about the fire burning in West Texas on KBTX.com. Meteorologist Max Crawford did a great job this morning explaining to us kind of exactly where the fire is located and why those heavy winds are impacting us here in the Brazos Valley and even further to the west out in Houston and onward. There's a lot of wind, and those flames and that smoke is flinging towards us. All right, so I'm going to pull that up. This is on KBTX.com if you want to read a little bit more about large fires happening in west central Texas right now. Again, pushing smoke here into the Brazos Valley. So kind of what happened is a cold front moved through our area overnight, which switched the winds to the northwest, kicking up gusts to about 25-30 miles per hour. Well, I talked to our BVTM crew, and they said this morning the police and fire scanners were going crazy. So many people waking up and calling 911 to report that smoky smell throughout the Brazos Valley. So again, as of this morning, about 40,000 acres have burned from the Eastland Complex fire. Several large fires happening in west central Texas as we speak. Texas A&M Forest Service really leading the charge on getting those fires contained. But again, if you need more information, make sure you keep that KBTX Pinpoint Weather app handy throughout the day today. Because of the wind, it is possible that that smoke can continue into this weekend. So Max Crawford and I were actually speaking this morning before the show started because we both were planning on going for runs early tomorrow morning. And he said, Abigail, you might want to push it off until the later morning time, maybe into the afternoon, because the smoke is going to be a little bit dangerous for folks that might have asthma or exercise-induced asthma like Max and I both have. So we are going to push those runs off a little bit. So it is going to be an absolutely gorgeous weekend, a gorgeous night tonight, Saturday, Sunday, looking sunshiny, great temperatures, but some smoke in the air from those giant fires burning in west central Texas. And because those wind gusts are so strong, blowing the smoke over here to us in the Brazos Valley. So just be aware of that and know what's going on. Again, keep that KBTX Pinpoint Weather app handy. And if you have more questions, you can, of course, joining us on the website at any time, kbtx.com, or you can tune in to our newscast where we have our meteorologists talking a little bit more, explaining more than I'm able to tell you, of course. All right, so obviously that's our biggest headline of the day today, just monitoring those fires happening across the state of Texas. But something else, an update to that fatal crash that happened near the New Mexico border. The National Transportation Safety Board is now releasing new details about the wrong-way collision that killed 9 people. Well, we now know that the driver responsible for the crash was 13 years old. Now, in addition to the driver being too young for a license, there were also issues with the pickup truck that he was driving.
It appears at this point in the investigation that the left front tire, which was a spare tire, had failed, which resulted in the vehicle pulling hard to the left and crossing into the opposing lane.
NTSB investigators say both vehicles were moving at a high rate of speed at the time of the head-on collision. They say many of the bus passengers were not wearing seatbelts. Investigators believe that also could have contributed to the death toll. 2 of the bus passengers who survived the crash are still hospitalized, but they're in stable condition. 2 men are in custody this morning after a big theft bust in Grimes County. More than $75,000 worth of stolen equipment was found in the Bedice community. The Grimes County Sheriff's Office says deputies seized items like lawnmowers, ATVs, four-wheelers, utility trailers, and even some guns. Authorities say the stolen property came from several different counties, including Walker, Burleson, and Brazos counties. And the Franklin Police Department is asking for the public's help in a theft investigation. Take a look at your screen right now. Law enforcement is trying to identify this man and whoever drove these vehicles. This theft happened at a convenience store in the community. Now, if you have any information, contact the Franklin Police Department. A little bit of an update to a story we told you about a week or so ago. Brazos County says no public records have been exposed in a software scare involving the county's Justice website. Justice Web is where the public can access online jail and court records. Well, some records were pulled offline over the past couple of weeks as a precautionary measure. But Brazos County says non-public records kept the same software were exposed in California. So after a software update, Brazos County says the vulnerability has been corrected. And again, we're told that no local records were exposed. Well, hey, this is super cool and something that maybe a lot of y'all didn't know about. It was kind of a private affair. President George W. Bush was in Aggieland this week to tour a high-tech facility on the Rellis campus. President Bush was given a tour of the George H.W. Bush complex. He got an update on some of the work happening regarding national security and the military. Mr. Bush was joined by Texas A&M leaders as well as 2 leaders of the George and Barbara Bush Foundation. During his visit, the former president also made a trip to his father's presidential library and museum. Now, I'm very excited. I have not been to the George Bush Library and Museum yet, but it's definitely on my bucket list. And next week, actually on Tuesday, I'm scheduled to have an awesome interview over there. And I'll tell you about that next week, previewing a little bit of a great event that's happening and is open to the public. But it'll be my first time over at the Library and Museum, and I'm super stoked. Well, hey, let's talk a little bit about the Supreme Court. Confirmation hearings begin on Monday on Capitol Hill for President Biden's Supreme Court nominee, Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now remember, if approved, she would be the first African-American woman to serve on the highest court in the country. It's a distinction that one of her friends first predicted when they met in college. Nancy Cordes caught up with 3 of Judge Jackson's oldest friends.
I've always known she could be the one.
Lisa Fairfax has known Ketanji Brown Jackson for more than half her life, cheering her on as she went from public defender to federal judge to Supreme Court nominee.
The unmitigated joy of seeing someone that I love be nominated is why I'm still smiling right now and probably getting ready to tear up.
Fairfax is 1/4 of a remarkable quartet. 4 women who met their freshman year at Harvard University and all went on together to Harvard Law School.
I think it was divine intervention.
Like Fairfax, Antoinette Coakley is now a law professor. Nina Simmons is a corporate attorney.
We met, we bonded, we became roommates, and then we became lifelong friends.
Fairfax says it was a young Ketanji Brown, the child of 2 teachers, who pushed her friends to excel.
I remember she would say to me, so much can be done early in the morning.
By sophomore year, Coakley was openly predicting that her roommate would someday be the first black woman to be named to the Supreme Court.
I thought if there was ever an opportunity for someone that came from our background to ascend to those heights, it would be her.
Now they call themselves her hype team as she plows through meetings with dozens of senators.
I've been sending her scriptures and prayers.
What does it mean, her nomination and hopefully confirmation? What does it mean? It means America. Come on, yes. This is who we want to be. This is who we said we want to be.
There's another first to think about here. Judge Jackson would not only be the first black woman on the Supreme Court, she would also be the first former public defender, meaning that for years she represented defendants who otherwise could not afford an attorney, a right enshrined in the Constitution. Nancy Cordes, CBS News, the White House.
All right, so this is not relevant to the story, but can we just talk about how beautiful Nancy Cordes' live shot out front of the White House looked with that backlight glowing on her hair? Fabulous. Props to her photographer. That looked awesome. Well, hey, President Biden and the Chinese president had a discussion over the phone this morning. This was the first time the 2 presidents have talked since back in November when they held a 3.5-hour virtual summit. Today, President Biden is expected to warn the Chinese leader that his country will bear responsibility if they support Russia's aggression. Secretary of State Antony Blinken says Beijing should be working to convince Vladimir Putin to call off the invasion.
Instead, it appears that China is moving in the opposite direction by refusing to condemn this aggression while seeking to portray itself as a neutral arbiter.
Both Blinken and President Biden believe Russia has committed war crimes in Ukraine.
Intentionally targeting civilians is a war crime. After all the destruction of the past 3 weeks, I find it difficult to conclude that the Russians are doing otherwise.
Blinken says if Putin is found guilty, he would face consequences, but declined to define what those consequences might be. The Kremlin says President Biden calling Putin a war criminal over his invasion of Ukraine is, quote, unacceptable and inexcusable. Still, the White House says the administration's investigation into war crimes will continue. Horrible news out of Ukraine. U.S. officials confirming that another American citizen has been killed by Russian shelling. The 67-year-old Idaho man was among several people who died when Russian artillery opened fire on civilians waiting in a bread line. He is now the second known American to be killed in the attacks. Journalist and filmmaker Brett Renault was killed last week. And in Russia, U.S. basketball player Brittany Griner's arrest has been extended. According to a Russian news agency, the arrest will now last until May 19th. Moscow authorities say the two-time Olympic gold medalist was taken into custody for allegedly smuggling drugs in February. Now, this is something that I want to share with all of you. I thought it was very interesting. Former California governor and public figure Arnold Schwarzenegger has a message for Russians. As the devastating invasion of Ukraine continues, Schwarzenegger's video asks Russian citizens and soldiers to resist their country's disinformation. Russian President Vladimir Putin and government officials have made false accusations toward Ukraine as the motivations for the invasion, saying the country is run by Nazis. Well, Schwarzenegger pushed back, calling the claim a lie and asking people to spread the truth, describing Russians protesting publicly against the war as his new heroes. He says he hopes his message about the atrocities committed by the Russian government and military will influence those on the front lines. I'm about to show you this Twitter post that already has 15 million views.
Hello everybody, and thank you for sharing your time with me. I'm sending this message through various different channels to reach my dear Russian friends and the Russian soldiers serving in Ukraine. I'm speaking to you today because there are things that are going on in the world that are being kept from you, terrible things that you should know about. But before I talk about the harsh realities, let me just tell you about the Russian who became my hero. In 1961, when I was 14 years old, a very good friend of mine invited me to come to Vienna and to watch the World Weightlifting Championships. I was in the audience when Yuri Petrovich Vlasov won the World Championship title, becoming the first human being to lift 200 kilograms over his head. And somehow a friend of mine got me backstage. All of a sudden there I was, a 14-year-old boy, standing in front of the strongest man in the world. I couldn't believe it. He reached out to shake my hand. I mean, I still had a boy's hand. He had this powerful man's hand that swallowed mine. But he was kind, and he smiled at me. I will never forget that day. Never. I went home and I put his photo above my bed to inspire me when I started lifting weights. My father told me to take down that picture and to find a German or an Austrian hero. He got really angry, and we argued back and forth. He didn't like Russians because of his experience in the Second World War. You see, he was injured at Leningrad, where the Nazi army that he was part of did vicious harm to the great city and to its brave people. But I did not take the photograph down, no, because it didn't matter to me what flag Yuri Vlasov carried. My connections to Russia didn't stop there, by the way. Oh, it actually deepened when I traveled there with bodybuilding and for my movies and met all my Russian fans. And on one of those trips, I remember, I met Yuri Vlasov once again. It was in Moscow during the filming of Red Heat, which was the first American movie allowed to film in Red Square. Now, he and I spent the whole day together. He was so thoughtful, so kind, and so smart, and, of course, very giving. He gave me this beautiful blue coffee cup. And ever since then, I've been drinking my coffee out of every morning. Now, the reason why I'm telling you all of those things is that ever since I was 14 years old, I've had nothing but affections and respect for the people of Russia. The strength and the heart of the Russian people have always inspired me. And that is why I hope that you will let me tell you the truth about the war in Ukraine and what is happening there. No one likes to hear something critical of the government, I understand that. But as a longtime friend of the Russian people, I hope that you will hear what I have to say. And may I remind you that I speak with the same heartfelt concern as I spoke to the American people when there was an attempted insurrection on January 6th last year, when a wild crowd was storming the US Capitol, trying to overthrow our government. You see, there are moments like this that are so wrong, and then we have to speak up. And it's exactly the same with your government. I know that your government has told you that this is a war to denazify Ukraine. Denazify Ukraine? This is not true. Ukraine is a country with a Jewish president, I might add, whose father's 3 brothers were all murdered by the Nazis. You see, Ukraine did not start this war. Neither did nationalists or Nazis. Those in power in the Kremlin started this war. This is not the Russian people's war. No. As a matter of fact, let me tell you, what you should know is that 141 nations at the UN voted that Russia was the aggressor and called for it to remove its troops immediately. Only 4 countries in the entire world voted with Russia. That is a fact. See, the world has turned against Russia because of its actions in Ukraine. Whole city blocks have been flattened by Russian artillery and bombs, including a children's hospital and a maternity hospital. 3 million Ukrainian refugees, mainly women, children, and elderly, fled their country, and many more are trying to seek to get out. It is a humanitarian crisis.
All right, y'all. Well, the video goes on like that for about 5 more minutes, but we're going to go ahead and pause it right there. Powerful words from Arnold Schwarzenegger saying, "I love the Russian people. That is why I have to tell you the truth. Please watch and share." Like I said, at last glance, it had 15 million views. It now has 27 million. Now, this is another discussion that I saw that was very interesting. It was between NBC News correspondent Morgan Radford and a psychology doctor. It talks about how the trauma of war actually changes your brain and your body. The doctor says that physical scars are visible, mental scars are hidden. We must always make mental health a priority. Now, this video is a little bit shorter, but I do think that it's worth watching.
Refugees are facing right now. And you said, quote, "I'm a doctor with an expertise in stress and resilience. I've also worked in refugee health with the WHO. I want to caution us against glorifying the trauma of the Ukrainian people." What did you mean by glorifying? Can you talk to us really about what happens psychologically when humans go through trauma?
Yes, Morgan. You know, the psychological impact of war far exceeds the physical impact of war. And so what we often see with these forced migrations is a loss of certainty in every aspect of life. So it's not just a loss of place or a home, but also a loss of control. Trauma of war changes the brain. So we may see PTSD, anxiety, and depression during and immediately after, but also months and years later.
And of course, there are many people who suffer both physical and emotional trauma from this. But can you talk to us about children specifically? I mean, what impact is this having on young minds, young people?
So, Morgan, children and the elderly are particularly vulnerable. Kids thrive when there's structure and a sense of psychological safety. So the first step for refugee children is to reestablish routines, meal times, playtime, schooling, and to understand that even if kids are smiling and happy immediately after or during that forced migration, it's not necessarily that they are also not deeply traumatized.
And given your experience in this field, I mean, what do you think is the best way to treat people in this case? And really, what can the rest of us, all of us, do to help?
So in the immediate term, Morgan, it is all about the immediate needs, safety, shelter, and food. But in the long term, when we're thinking about post-conflict reconstruction, mental health has to be a priority. Mental health challenges happen long after the last bomb has been dropped and the aid workers have all gone home. So it's important to remember this for the long term.
Definitely, for them to understand that there's still a big, formidable fight ahead. Dr. Didi Nurikar, thank you so much.
Well, back here in the United States, lawmakers are working to suspend normal trade relations with Russia. The House passed legislation to suspend trade relations with Russia and Belarus. The bill now heads to the Senate, where Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he'll get right to work to pass it quickly. Right now, Russia has the most favored nation status when it comes to trade. That basically just means lower tariffs and fewer barriers, but the president is trying to remove that status, but it does require the approval of Congress. Let's talk about gas prices. There's actually some good news at the pump. Yay. AAA Texas is reporting that statewide average for a gallon of gas has now fallen below $4 a gallon. Barely. It's now $3.94. That's a drop of about 4 cents since last week. Right here in Bryan College Station, the average is $3.98, so a little bit higher. Texas is still below the national average, which is $4.29 a gallon. But the relief may only be temporary, unfortunately. AAA says volatility in the gas and oil industry is expected to continue until the global market figures out how to compensate for the loss of Russian exports due to the war in Ukraine. So this is interesting. Congress is examining ways that the federal government can help HBCUs after a surge of threats. Actually, Prairie View A&M is among the 36 HBCUs that have been impacted by these threats since January. The FBI is currently investigating the threats. So affected HBCUs that were threatened are actually now eligible for federal grants aimed at improving mental health resources and campus security. I love that. Talking about mental health on this Mental Health Friday, scientists in England say they found a new way to relieve anxiety. They've developed a pillow that breathes when you hug it. CBS's Tina Kraus has that story from London.
When it comes to stressful situations, taking college exams ranks right up there. So the University of Bristol was the perfect setting for British researchers to test their new anti-anxiety device.
What we got them to do was a maths test. So we had them to do some sequencing of numbers, some of which were impossible. So we really ramped up the level of anxiety.
They tested more than 100 students, giving a third of them this breathing cushion to hug before the exam. Its hidden inflatable pouch simulates slow breathing.
That reduced their pre-test anxiety. So they still got anxious, but they got less anxious than if we gave them no intervention whatsoever.
Based on questionnaires, researchers found anxiety scores for cushion-hugging students were similar to those who meditated.
It just has a lovely, intuitive, simple feel to it.
Textile designer Annie Lywood helped create the calming cushion and says dementia patients also find it comforting.
Made them smile, which was lovely, and they didn't want to let go of the cushion.
And they all said, oh, I remember when my child was this size.
Testing is still in the early stages, and the pillow hasn't been tried on patients with diagnosed anxiety disorders, but researchers are hopeful.
We can use therapies, we can use pharmaceutical interventions, but they take time, they cost money, whereas a cushion is just something people intuitively interact with.
And scientists say just a quick cuddle can put anxiety to rest. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
I think I want to get one of those pillows. Researchers hope to get the breathing cushion into stores within a year and believe hospitals and care homes will also find it useful. All right, I've got some good news from the CDC. When's the last time I said that? All right, so CDC says that community levels of COVID have been dropping quickly. That's their new measurement to help areas decide what prevention steps to take against the virus. 3 weeks ago, 28% of the population lived in counties considered to have high community levels. That number then fell to 7% 2 weeks ago, now less than 1%. However, CDC data shows more than half of counties in the U.S. still have high or substantial COVID transmission rates. Because of this, the White House is shifting to a new phase of its response to the pandemic. It's moving from crisis mode to emergency preparedness mode. All right. The White House COVID-19 coordinator is also changing. Jeff Zients will step down next month. Ashish Jha will take his place. Jha is an epidemiologist and the head of Brown University's School of Public Health. President Biden praised Zients' point to the progress made under his watch. In a new push to keep the pandemic at bay, the White House wants building owners to upgrade the ventilation in their facilities. The Clean Air in Buildings Challenge is a call to action for building owners and operators. This means using the EPA guidelines to improve ventilation systems. The EPA says that this could actually reduce the risk of spreading airborne infectious diseases just like COVID. All right, let's talk about those masks, y'all. As cities and schools continue to lift their mask requirements, the Third Court of Appeals in Austin rules that independent school districts are allowed to require masks on campuses. A group of districts sued the state last year over the governor's executive order that prohibited local governments from mandating masks. They claimed the governor exceeded his authority with the ban. A trial court previously granted a temporary injunction, but attorneys for the state appealed. Well, the Court of Appeals agreed with the trial court's decision, but it's unclear how this will really impact school districts because most of them have already dropped their mask mandates due to a very heavy drop in COVID cases. Similarly, a group of airline pilots are suing the CDC over the federal mask mandate. Pilots from JetBlue, American, and Southwest Airlines accusing the government of issuing the order without asking for their feedback, calling it illegal and unconstitutional. Now, we know that while most mask mandates have been lifted across the country, they do still apply to public transportation. Now, Congress is considering their own ruling to lift the mandate, but the group of pilots is still asking a court to vacate the CDC's order. Moderna is asking the FDA to authorize a second COVID-19 booster shot for everyone 18 and older. But first, they need an amendment from the agency. That amendment would allow a fourth dose for adults who have had their initial booster of any of the approved vaccines. We know that Pfizer has also asked for this authorization for their fourth dose for senior Americans. Now, really quickly, let's talk about the J&J shot. A recent study shows that the one-dose J&J vaccine did remain effective against infection and hospitalization during the Delta variant surge. A study shows that the shot was 76% effective overall in preventing COVID and 81% effective in preventing COVID-related hospitalizations. During that time, that study also found that the vaccine remained durable up to 180 days after vaccination. The study is consistent with data from the FDA, which allowed them to issue that original emergency use authorization for the J&J vaccine last year. All right, let's talk about jobs, shall we? The U.S. Department of Labor says that job openings are growing literally everywhere. There were almost 11.3 million job openings in the month of January. This comes as millions of Americans are making career shifts. Experts say people are moving more towards jobs that will offer them, of course, more money and, of course, a better work-life balance. A Texas A&M business professor tells us it's becoming more common for people to change jobs as more hiring managers are caring less about the amount of time spent at previous jobs.
Hiring managers are looking at, well, where did you go from there? As opposed to how long were you with that company? It was, well, what position did you move on to? How did you better yourself? What new skills did you learn?
George says more people are actually moving back into industries like hospitality, food service, and retail. Brazos Valley schools are still struggling to hire and retain substitute teachers. Madisonville CISD is looking to train the next generation of sub-teachers to ensure that students continue to excel and thrive in the classroom when their full-time teacher is absent. Based on estimates from a sample of U.S. metropolitan districts, teachers miss an average of about 11 days out of a 186-day school year.
We're always looking for good people who want to work with children, want to make a difference, and that are willing to be substitutes.
The idea is to bridge that gap in education that is created by the absence of a regular teacher.
Well, hey, if you're interested in answering the call to be a substitute teacher, the district is hosting a training class starting Monday, March 28th at Madisonville Elementary School. That class will meet from 6 to 9 p.m. nightly for 4 nights. Registration is just $35. Whew, I feel like after all of those news headlines, we need to take another deep breath together on this Friday. One more for good measure. Dance it out. All right, y'all, let's kind of switch our coverage over now to March Madness. Today is day 2 of the March Madness tournament, and if you weren't watching, let's do a quick little recap. Let me tell you, day 1 of March Madness lived up to its name with 6 upsets already, and in my opinion, the most significant upset was this one right here. Number 15 seed St. Pete's upsetting number 2 Kentucky in overtime. The Wildcats were 18.5-point favorites. ESPN is actually reporting that just 161 of the more than 17 million brackets filled out through their platform remain perfect. There are only 14 perfect Yahoo brackets remaining. So if you filled out a March Madness bracket after yesterday and those upsets, how you feeling today? Are things looking good? Things looking bad? Still have hope? What team are you rooting for? The Illini played tonight. Go University of Illinois. I'm cheering them on. And of course, go Aggies. But we all know they're not in the tournament, so whatever. Hey, as a reminder, the NCAA March Madness tournament is impacting some of our newscasts here on KBTX. So there is no 12 o'clock show today. And then the 4 o'clock show might run a little bit late, which is the one I'll be anchoring. Then News 3 at 6 will run at 5:30. So it's going to be 1 full hour of KBTX news, all right? So 5 to 6 instead of 5, break from 5:30 to 6, 6 to 6:30. 1 full hour squished together. And if you watch the CBS Evening News normally at 5:30, it's still going to be on, but you do have to switch the channel to the CW8. And if you're a night owl, News 3 at 10 is going to follow basketball tonight. I know last night didn't run until about midnight, so just know that News 3 at 10 will still happen, just not until the games are finished. All right, so this is actually a very interesting story. As we know, March Madness officially underway. First round of games is done now. Well, the first round, and then they continue tonight. So, listen, if you find yourself, like we often do, rooting for the underdog, a sports psychologist says there are actually reasons for that. Mandy Gaither has more on the science that makes your brain pull for certain teams. It's super interesting.
March Madness is here. You may find yourself jumping on the underdog bandwagon, and your brain is what's driving you there, says Jamie Houle, a sports psychologist with the Ohio State University Wexner Medical Center.
It's almost gratifying when folks that are supposed to win don't.
Houle says there's a science behind the desire to pull for the underdog. First, we can relate to them, even if we're not aware of it.
What it makes us believe is that maybe at some point we might be able to do something great, overcome some kind of odds that seem like overwhelming.
There's always an expectation that the best teams will win, but when that doesn't happen, Houle says we find joy in the unexpected.
When we see people who are really great mess up, it makes us go, okay, cool. Maybe I'm not that different than everybody else.
Many times fans root against a team as much as they root for one. Houle says that's our brain's way of wanting things to be fair.
We want justice, so we want things to be kind of equal, and when they're not equal, that doesn't really feel good to us. Indianapolis.
And finally, we often find an unexpected outcome to simply be more exciting.
We want chaos because it's kind of more fun to watch than the regular things we do every day.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
I love that. Told you that was an interesting story. Again, who are you rooting for to win that tournament? Let me know. Well, hey, show of hands, how many of you went out and celebrated St. Patrick's Day when you got off work last night? I mean, seriously, what a better way to get a full dose of March than mixing St. Patrick's Day and the biggest stage in college basketball. Let me tell you, there was no shortage of St. Patrick's Day spirit throughout Bryan College Station yesterday. It was pretty green out there. I mean, from green beer to leprechaun hats, Moe's Irish Pub in College Station brought out all the stops. Some said it was great to see everyone back 2 years after the pandemic first shut bars and pubs down.
To see the vigor and the collective effervescence come back into the community is a delight to see.
I really love just like the small knit community. Anywhere you go, you're gonna run into a friend.
I mean, whether you found yourself at Murphy's Law or Elixir or Moe's, each place captured what makes it special to celebrate the holidays here in BCS. And hey, with another St. Patrick's Day in the record books, a lucky Midwesterner is hoping to set a record after an amazing streak of four-leaf clover discoveries. Jeremy Roth has today's Take a Look at This.
Just in time for St. Patty's Day, this Wisconsin woman left us green with envy by showing off her amazing and potentially record-setting collection of four-leaf clovers. Bettina Reich says she's been finding the rare leafy plants since she was 10.
Or I should say they find me, if anything.
She already had an impressive clover collection going, but when the pandemic hit, she found extra time for her hobby, turning COVID times into Clovid times with daily discoveries of the hard-to-find flora that just kept on going.
10 went to 20, then 50, and 112.
With the luck of the Irish seemingly on her side, Reich ended up finding a four-leaf clover every day for 258 days straight. She's now trying her luck by applying for a Guinness World Record. Some drivers in Chicago got lucky when an area businessman donated $200,000 in free gasoline. Dr. Willie Wilson said he wanted to do what he could to help his town during these times of unprecedented pain at the pump. Cars lined up at participating stations getting free $50 fill-ups until the money was spent. Finally, wildlife officials want the public's help in naming the newest bald eagle chick born in California's Big Bear Valley. Along with a donation, you can submit your ideas online. The winner will be chosen by a local third-grade class. Okay, here are my ideas. Chick Astley, Kanye Nest, The Godfeather, Bird Reynolds, Jimmy Talon, Edgar Allan Crow. Okay, that's probably enough for now. Or take a look at this. I'm Jeremy Roth.
I love that baby eagle. That baby eagle is so cute. Oh my gosh, it's so fluffy. I just want to squish it. Well, hey, who needs plans this weekend? Anyone? Anyone? Madison County Fair and Rodeo is back in full swing this year. Yeehaw. The opening ceremonies and fair dedication kicked off last night with a family and consumer science and art auction. All right, so rodeo action starts tonight and continues all day tomorrow. There's going to be food, barrel racing, tractor races, and fun for the entire family, and it's all for a great cause.
It's a big way to raise and generate money for the youth of agriculture, the youth of Madison County. So throughout the week, what is also going to take place is you'll see the young kids exhibiting their fair 4-H and FFA animal projects, and the rodeo just helps kick that off.
Ticket prices are $20 for adults, and children under the age of 10 get in for free. All right, just another reason to love our queen, Dolly Parton, right? God bless Dolly. Live, laugh, love, Dolly Parton. Working 9 to 5, Jolene. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is keeping Dolly Parton on the ballot, even though she asked to bow out earlier this week. The country music legend said she wanted to decline her nomination to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. She compared it to putting AC/DC in the Country Music Hall of Fame. But after a few days of radio silence, the answer came: Dolly will still be nominated. If selected, Dolly could join nominees this year like Eminem and Duran Duran. She's such a queen. I just love her. All right, this next story is going to make you both weirded out and also kind of hungry. It looks like the phrase computer chip may soon have a new meaning. Look at this. Chipotle is testing out an autonomous kitchen robot that can make its tortilla chips. Officials with the restaurant chain say the mechanical assistant named Chippy will allow human employees to focus on other food-related jobs. Chippy is being taught how to cook chips with Chipotle's current recipe, and it's currently being tested in California. Interesting. Not sure how I feel about that. All right, it's space talk time. Where are my astronomy nerds at? NASA's Artemis mission is crawling closer to its eventual goal of a lunar launch this morning. Woohoo! The massive 322-foot tall rocket moved very slowly over a 4-mile course over to the launch pad. It was expected to take 11 hours for the rocket to move. It should be in place any time now. The rocket will now undergo a couple of weeks of testing before a dress rehearsal in early April. While that won't involve an actual launch, it is very important to the process. With it, NASA can continue with its plans to land the first woman and the first person of color on the moon later this decade. Yeah, that's right. First woman and first person of color going to the moon in our lifetime. Let's go. All right, speaking of space, Pete Davidson, right? Live from space. It's Saturday Night Live. It's Pete Davidson. Yeah, no, it looks like he won't be live from outer space after all. Boo-hoo. The Saturday Night Live cast member was originally scheduled to be on that March 23rd Blue Origin flight, but the launch date is now delayed by 6 days. According to a tweet from the company, Davidson is no longer able to be part of the crew. Blue Origin says Davidson's replacement on the mission will be announced soon. Among the 5 others who will be on the 10-minute flight are investor Marty Allen and entrepreneur Jim Kitchen. Let's just pause for a minute and talk about this. What possible reason? What is he doing 6 days later that would possibly cause him to not be able to fly into space? I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around this concept. He was originally scheduled to launch into outer space, like a literal once-in-a-lifetime moment. And it was delayed by 6 days, not even a full week, and he can no longer go? What? Are he and Kim Kardashian getting married that day or something? What is so important that Saturday Night Live won't let him leave for one day to launch into space for 10 minutes? I need more to this story. That is not enough information. Are y'all feel the same way? Like, you're leaving us hanging. Why is Pete Davidson kicked off the trip? Imagine you're like ready to go into space for this once in a lifetime opportunity. And once in a lifetime is like a very under exaggeration. Like, that doesn't even come close to describing what it is, because the majority of humans on Earth will never go to space. So it's once in his lifetime, but he was chosen for it. Not once in our lifetime, maybe mine, hopefully. But like, my mind is blown. All right. If you feel the same way, please let me know, because I'm going crazy here thinking, what can he possibly be doing that is more important 6 days later than going to space? What? I don't know. Beats me, y'all. All right. I need to calm down. Deep breath, guys. All right. Hey, all right. So let's talk a little bit more about weekend plans, because I told you there's so much happening in the Brazos Valley. Like, so much. Okay, so let's talk about some of the stuff that we can do this weekend. The first thing I want to tell you is that, unfortunately, unless you're driving to Louisiana, you can't watch the A&M baseball game in person. But of course, we can still support them via social media or by watching on TV. There are tons of ways to support our Aggie baseball team, because they are on the road this weekend. They're opening up conference play against 8th-ranked LSU. It's the second straight year the Aggies have opened conference play on the road. Maroon and White are looking to get back into the win column after dropping an 8-2 game to Houston at home on Tuesday night. There are a lot of new faces on the Aggie roster this season, including Arizona State transfer Mr. Jack Moss.
Half my family actually went to LSU, and my uncle pitched there, so I'm very familiar with it. I've been there a lot growing up, so personally I know a lot about it, but can't say I've ever played in front of it. So
All right, y'all.
definitely
Well,
going to
the
be some
Aggies and
unfamiliar territory
LSU
there,
will
but
get their
just ready to
series
go. It's going to be a lot of
underway
fun.
at 6:30 tonight in Baton Rouge. The game will be streamed on the SEC Network Plus. And hey, if you want to go out to the Texas A&M softball game, you'll see me there. Let's go Aggies. The Texas A&M softball team is at home this weekend, and they're taking on 5th-ranked Florida. I'm stoked for this game. It will be the first SEC series at Davis Diamond this year. First pitch for the Aggies and Gators series open tonight for 6 p.m. over at Davis Diamond. The game will also be streamed on the SEC Network Plus. But you can head on over there at Davis Diamond and see me there. Hi! There's going to be fireworks. I'm so excited. Okay, so if you've been watching March Madness, then you might have seen this. This is like my favorite story ever. I used to be a cheerleader, and I think cheerleaders do not give enough credit. Those athletes are incredible and way stronger and more awesome than basically any other athlete in the world, and I am willing to die on that hill. Cheerleaders rock. Check this out, all right? After a loose ball got stuck behind the backboard and like literally no one could get it out, Indiana cheerleaders came to the rescue by getting lifted up and grabbing the ball off the back of the backboard. They literally saved this game. In the depths of despair, when all hope was lost, cheerleaders were the heroes. All right, this is a great video. Watch this.
With a mop. That's how high up it is. We're getting a chair out. You know, when I was a kid, there was a guy who played named Connie Hawkins. They said he used to be able to get quarters from the top of the backboard. That's who we look for now, Connie Hawkins.
Now we're going to put toss on a chair. I don't like this. No, Randy Bennett. Oh, no, it's Kelly Pfeiffer. That's not going to work.
I think they need to pick Kelly up, or maybe he's got to go on Vern's shoulders.
We got toss holding Pfeiffer. Kelly is not tall enough. Major issues here in Portland.
Why don't we get a new ball?
Yeah, why don't the cheerleaders, they're used to going up high. Let's get get the cheerleader up. Get her up there. This is how you do it. Give her the mop. No, she's got it. Oh, what a play. The cheerleader saves the day. And that's her one shining moment. This place is on its feet. The cheerleader is the hero in Portland.
In all seriousness, this was literally the best moment of March Madness so far. Hands down, the best moment. They literally saved the game, okay? When we're talking about the NCAA March Madness tournament, we're not going to get, again, too far into how we feel about the Aggies not being a part of the big dance, even though it stinks really badly. But I did think it was very interesting. Remember the other day when I showed you the after-game press conference with Coach Buzz Williams? Well, hey, it's not just us who are really frustrated with the decision. I thought it was interesting that Senator Ted Cruz weighing in, saying flame emojis, hashtag Gig'em, and tagging Texas A&M and Aggie men's basketball. So clearly Senator Cruz is also feeling that frustration. I don't know, I just thought that was interesting. I saw that online and was like, yeah, you're not wrong. That is totally true. Yeah. All right. So when we're talking about Aggie basketball, y'all, again, if you're looking for plans this weekend, let's go pack Reed Arena. Again, I will see you there. Reed Arena, 11 a.m. on Saturday. This is the NIT second round versus Oregon. Best part, free admission and free parking. All you have to do is show up in your maroon and white and come ready to cheer on our Aggies. Gig 'em, boys. Let's go. See you at Reed Arena, 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. Free admission, free parking. Yeah. All right, so if you want to spend your entire weekend with me, which of course all of you do, right? Right? Okay, so Aggie softball tonight, Aggie basketball in the morning, and then Kinder Hill Brew Lab near downtown Bryan. If you haven't been there, that's where it's located. They are welcoming spring this Saturday with a Spring Fling event. The local beer garden and brew pub is actually featuring different beers, 3 beers, created by our KBTX Pinpoint Weather team. So Mia Montgomery's got one, Shell Winkley's got one, and Max Crawford's got one. And they're donating part of all of the proceeds to charity. So you can come out and test out the beers created by our KBTX weather team, and you can have a great time. A ton of us KBTXers are gonna be out there on Saturday. Come have a good time with us, say hello. Can't wait to see you guys there. And if you're like, I'm not really sure, News 3's Fallon Appleton got a sneak peek of the Spring Fling event this morning, and trust me, you're gonna wanna see what it's all about.
Tomorrow here at Kinder Hill Brew Lab, they're going to be having their Spring Fling, you know, a Spring Fling like you grew up with. And they've also partnered with our KBTX Pinpoint Weather team to have some special beers you can come out here and enjoy as well. To talk more about that is Laura and Jason. Thank y'all so much for joining us. So, Jason, I'll start with you. Let's talk a little bit about how this whole event is going to work.
Yeah, so we're going to have it from 12 until 5 tomorrow. We're going to have about 15 different local vendors. We're going to do a cakewalk. We're going to have a bounce house. Our friends from the Purple Turtle are going to be doing a live mural painting. It's going to be fun for the whole family.
Yeah, definitely a lot of great things for people to enjoy. So why did y'all decide to have this Spring Fling?
I just remember spring festivals growing up were so much fun and kind of a fun way to welcome in the warmer weather, the end of winter, and so we thought we should put one on for everybody.
Yeah, it's going to be such a great way for people, like you said, to come out, enjoy the weather, enjoy the season. And let's talk about the beers. Y'all partner with our weather team to bring a special kind of showcase and also give back.
Yeah, so each one of the weather team members created a beer with us. They picked very different styles, which was awesome. We didn't know what they would pick. And they're all going to donate a percentage of the proceeds from those beers to the Red Cross.
And let's talk a little bit about some of these beers. What kind of makes each of them different?
So Mia chose to make a strawberry blonde, so very light, a little bit of fruitiness from the strawberries. I think it's going to be a really easy drinker. And then Max chose a hazy IPA, and we put in tons of hops. So for the IPA lovers, that's going to be the one. And then Shell really surprised us, and he picked a sour brown with coffee. So it's definitely something to kind of pique people's interest.
Yeah, definitely one I think that really also fits all of their personalities that really speaks through with their beer. So we have Shell's right here. We'll go ahead and try that, the coffee one here. It's very different. It's got that strong coffee taste, and you got the sour here. I don't know if I saw it on a board, I would automatically choose it, but I kind of like the coffee taste here with it. Now, y'all already have them out on the board. Y'all had them for St. Patrick's Day. What were people's response to them so far?
People are excited. We put little teasers on, so we didn't let anybody order them. We haven't tapped them yet until today. And so people they're excited. They want to try them.
Yeah, definitely some great beers. Jason, do you have a favorite of the three?
Oh, it's very hard to choose between your children.
Definitely. Well, I will pick a favorite. I will say KBTX Mia's is my favorite. Gotta say for my girl Mia, her beer is my favorite. But you can all come and try them here on Saturday at Kinder Hill Brew Hub starting at 12 o'clock. We have more details over at kbtx.com.
I'm super stoked. So, okay, I'm going to pull up their website right now because if you are not a beer drinker, I am not a beer drinker. Guess what? They have tons of other drinks as well, and they have food. There's going to be a bunch of vendors out there for the Spring Fling event, so it's not just for drinking beer. You can totally come out and drink beer, try one of the 3 creations by our KBTX weather team, but also you can just come out and have a good time. You don't have to drink, or you can try a different drink. There was some really great stuff on their menu. I was trying to pull it up, but I'll just let you look it up yourself. Kinder Hill Brew Lab near downtown Bryan, Spring Fling event happening on Saturday from 12 until about 5 p.m. or maybe even a little bit longer. KBTXers are going to be out there, so come and say hi to us. And if you want to spend your entire weekend with me, Friday night, that's tonight, 6 p.m., see at Davis Diamond, where the Aggie softball team is taking on Florida. If you want to watch the Aggie men's baseball team on the SEC Network Plus, they are on the road in Baton Rouge taking on LSU this weekend and tomorrow. Seriously, I better see y'all out there in your maroon and white Pack Reed Arena, 11 a.m. Our Aggie men's basketball team is taking on Oregon for that second round of the NIT tournament. 11 a.m. Reed Arena, free admission, y'all. Cannot stress this enough. The Texas A&M Athletic Department is paying for all of our general admission tickets, and parking is also free. No excuse not to be out there. It's going to be an absolutely gorgeous weekend, like amazing weekend. And of course, if you woke up this morning and you're breathing a little heavy and your chest kind of hurts, why is it so smoky? Don't be alarmed. Here's what's happening. Several large fires are currently burning in west central Texas, and those heavy wind gusts that we saw kick up overnight, pushing all of that smoke over here to us in the Brazos Valley. 40,000 plus acres have burned from the Eastland Complex fire. Several counties out that way being evacuated. That's expected to continue through the weekend as those high winds continue. We are expecting some severe weather on Monday, hoping and praying that the rain will help put out those fires. Our Texas A&M Fire Service is taking the lead on containing those fires and giving us updates as we go along. If you want more information, keep that KBTX Pinpoint Weather app handy or join us online anytime at kbtx.com. Or, of course, tune in at 4, 5, 6, and 10, but not actually at those times because March Madness is happening. So who knows when our newscasts are actually going to happen. The 4 o'clock, first news at 4, is probably going to be delayed a little bit. And then remember, a full hour of KBTX with no break in between, 5 to 6 straight, 1 hour. And then the 10 o'clock show will air after those March Madness games are finished tonight. Could be anywhere from 10 to midnight. Who knows? Some of those games might be going into overtime. So, March Madness, and it's living up to its name. How are you doing in your bracket, huh? I want to know if after that first round of upsets took place yesterday, if you're feeling good about it, if you're feeling bad about it. How are you feeling? I don't gamble because I am unlucky, so I do not bet any money. I don't have my stakes. I don't have a claim in anything right now. I am cheering for the Aggies in the NIT tournament. I'm cheering for the Illini in the March Madness tournament, but I'm not betting any money, all right? If you win big, though, let me know because I need my student loans paid for, so if you want to, help me out with that. I'm totally kidding. Totally kidding. Congratulations if you win big. I hope your teams win. And I hope you join me this weekend. I'm super stoked about it. I'm very excited. Beautiful, gorgeous, amazing, almost perfect weather for all of our fun events. Aggie Sports, Kinder Hill Brew Lab, Madison County Fair and Rodeo. In Tough Mudder is happening today and tomorrow in College Station. Oh my gosh, there's so much happening. If you want to know more, you can, of course, go to destinationbryan.com. You can go to visitcollegestation.gov. That's visit.cstx.gov. You can look at both of their event schedules. You can go to kbtx.com and check out our community events calendar. Whew, there's so much happening and so much fun to be had across the Brazos Valley. I really hope that y'all stay safe, but also that you have a ton of fun out there this weekend. Like I said, if you want to spend your weekend with me, softball game tonight, basketball game tomorrow morning, Kinder Hill Brew Lab for the Spring Fling event in the afternoon tomorrow, and then it's going to be gorgeous on Sunday. Don't bother me on Sundays, all right? I'm going to be relaxing, reading a book, hydrating, and getting ready for next week, all right? So severe weather to come on Monday, but we'll have more on that as it gets a little bit closer. Our KBTX meteorologists are monitoring that extremely closely, looking at different graphs and data systems. Again, we'll have more on that over the weekend, but that's it. We're going to end News 3 Now right then and there because I want you to go out and enjoy this beautiful Friday afternoon. It's just about lunchtime for y'all, so step outside and feel that sunshine. It's good for your soul. And of course, mental health check-in, y'all. How are you feeling? How was the week? How are you feeling today, this morning at 12:05 on Friday, March 18th? How are your loved ones feeling? Check in with them as well. Text someone, call them, tell them that you love them and that you're happy that they're here because, hey, guess what? You are loved, and I'm happy that you are here. Happy Friday. I'll see you a little bit later on First News at 4, but until then, enjoy your weekend. See you guys.
Thank you for watching News 3. Local, trusted. Thank you for watching News 3. Local, trusted. Thank you for watching News 3. Local, trusted.